There is a whisper in the winds of time, a voice that echoes through the ages, urging us to look beyond the shadows of our mistakes. Fear of failure has gripped the hearts of many, shackling their dreams and silencing the call of destiny. But I stand before you today to declare, you were never meant to fear failure. Rather, you were born to rise through it. In the ancient stories, the great heroes did not walk a path of ease. They stumbled, they fell, they faced rejection and despair. Yet from the dust of their failures the mightiest triumphs were born. Failure is not the enemy. It is the furnace in which character is forged, the crucible where courage is tested, and the soil from which perseverance grows. Consider the farmer who plants a seed. Does he curse the earth when the first sprout struggles to break free? No. He understands the mystery of growth, that beneath the surface, unseen forces are at work, shaping life through trials and time. So, too, must we understand that failure is part of the divine design, a necessary wilderness through which the soul must pass to reach its promise. Fear not the fall, for it is the invitation to rise. Fear not the brokenness, for it is the gateway to wholeness. Fear not the night, for the dawn always follows. The greatest stories of deliverance began in the valley of failure, where faith was tested, where hope was kindled anew. There is a power that rises in those who refuse to be defined by their failures, a power that says, "This is not the end, but the beginning," a power that turns stumbling blocks into stepping stones, scars into crowns. When fear of failure loses its grip, the spirit is set free to soar. So today, embrace your failures. Look at them not as verdicts, but as voices calling you onward. They are not your chains, but your keys. For within every failure lies the seed of your future victory, waiting to be awakened by the courage to try again. Remember, the night is darkest just before the dawn. Do not fear failure. Fear only the giving up. Rise, persist, and claim the destiny written for you. Failure is often seen as a dark shadow that threatens to consume our hopes and dreams, but this perspective misunderstands its true nature. Failure is not the enemy to be feared or avoided at all costs. Instead, it is a vital and necessary part of growth. Much like rain is essential for a tree to flourish or fire is essential to refine gold. Without failure, progress stagnates and transformation remains impossible. When we stumble, fall, or face setbacks, it is an invitation to learn, to adapt, and to rise stronger than before. Failure reveals the gaps in our knowledge, the weaknesses in our plans, and the areas where we need to develop patience, skill, and perseverance. It humbles us and strips away false pride, paving the way for genuine growth and maturity. Throughout history, the greatest breakthroughs in science, art, and leadership were preceded by moments of failures that illuminated the way forward. Without the willingness to face failure, innovation would remain locked away in fear and hesitation. Failure challenges us to examine our approach and pushes us beyond the boundaries of our comfort zones. It is in those moments of defeat that resilience is born and character is tempered. Just as muscles grow stronger through resistance, our spirits are fortified through the trials of failure. When we embrace failure as part of the process rather than a final verdict, it transforms from a source of shame to a stepping stone toward achievement. This mindset shift is crucial because fear of failure often paralyzes people, preventing them from taking risks or pursuing their true potential. Failure becomes not a stopping point, but a necessary passage, a powerful teacher that guides us toward wisdom and success. Instead of seeing failure as a defeat, we must see it as an essential component of the journey toward fulfillment and greatness. Throughout history, the stories of great heroes and leaders reveal a common thread. They did not achieve greatness by walking a path free of obstacles or setbacks. Rather, their journeys were marked by failures, rejections, and moments of deep despair. These figures are not defined by the moments they fell, but by how they rose again. The idea that greatness comes without struggle is a myth that keeps many from stepping into their potential. The truth is, the path to triumph is carved out of perseverance through failure. Heroes in ancient tales faced trials that tested their resolve and character. They endured defeats that could have ended their quests, yet they pressed forward with a tenacity fueled by faith, purpose, and vision. Their failures were not signs of weakness, but necessary chapters in their stories. It was through these hardships that they learned crucial lessons, developed new strategies, and grew stronger both in spirit and in skill. Failure acted as a refining fire, burning away doubt and distraction, revealing the core of who they were meant to become. The great leaders and visionaries who changed the course of history were often met with opposition, ridicule, and setbacks that threatened to derail their mission. Yet they refused to be defined by these failures. Instead, they embraced them as integral to their journey, knowing that success is not a single event but a process that requires enduring the storm before basking in the calm. In this way, failure is not the end, but a powerful force that molds champions, innovators, and pioneers. To look upon heroes and see only their victories is to miss the full picture. Their greatness is found not in the absence of failure, but in their courage to rise each time they fell, to learn from their mistakes, and to move forward with relentless hope. Failure serves as a powerful forge for the human spirit, shaping character and testing courage in ways that success alone never could. When we encounter failure, we are confronted with our limitations, fears, and vulnerabilities. It strips away any pretense or illusion of perfection, exposing the raw and real parts of ourselves that need growth. This exposure is uncomfortable but necessary, for it is in the face of these challenges that true strength is built. Character is not something that appears overnight or is handed to us on a silver platter. It is cultivated through the trials and tribulations we endure, with failure acting as the hammer that shapes us. Each setback demands that we make a choice, to be defeated or to stand firm and learn. When we choose the latter, our resilience is strengthened, our patience expanded, and our integrity deepened. These qualities do not develop in times of ease. They are born in the struggle, carved out of persistence amid adversity. Courage, too, finds its roots in failure. It is easy to be brave when everything is going well, but true courage emerges when we face the unknown, when we confront doubt, rejection, or loss. Failure forces us to confront fears we might otherwise avoid. It compels us to take risks again, to get up after falling, and to keep moving forward despite uncertainty. This repeated act of bravery, even when the outcome is unclear, is what builds a courageous heart. In this way, failure is a teacher, revealing not only our weaknesses, but also the depths of our inner strength. It challenges us to rise beyond fear, to embrace vulnerability, and to keep pursuing our purpose with unwavering determination. The process of facing failure and responding with courage and integrity is what ultimately defines our character and shapes the trajectory of our lives. Failure is like a seed planted deep within the soil, hidden from view, struggling beneath the surface before it can grow into something strong and vibrant, just as a seed must endure darkness, pressure, and time before breaking through the earth to reach the sunlight. Failure is the unseen foundation on which success is built. It may feel uncomfortable and discouraging in the moment, but it is part of the natural process of growth and transformation. The seed does not grow by avoiding struggle, it grows because of the struggle. Its roots push downward, breaking through hard earth, seeking nourishment and anchoring itself firmly. Similarly, failure challenges us to develop the qualities necessary for lasting success: resilience, patience, and adaptability. Without these qualities, growth remains shallow and vulnerable. Failure forces us to dig deeper, to strengthen our roots so that when the time comes, we can rise up and stand tall against the storms. The soil of failure is fertile ground. It holds the nutrients of experience, wisdom, and insight that can only be gained through trial and error. Each failure adds to this richness, preparing us for a stronger, healthier emergence. When we see failure as the soil rather than the obstacle, we begin to understand that it is not the end but the very beginning of a new phase of growth. The process of growth is often invisible at first, much like the seed's transformation beneath the earth. We might be tempted to give up during this hidden period, doubting whether anything is happening. But just as the seed is quietly preparing for its breakthrough, failure is working silently within us, developing strength, shaping character, and building the foundation for future success. This understanding changes how we view failure, inviting us to embrace it as a vital part of the journey rather than a barrier to it. Falling is not a sign of defeat, but an invitation to rise stronger and wiser than before. Every time we fall, we face a moment of choice, a moment where we decide whether to stay down in despair or to stand up with renewed determination. This act of rising after a fall is where true strength is revealed. It's not the absence of failure that defines us, but how we respond to it. Falling is a natural part of the human experience, an inevitable step in any meaningful journey, and it holds within it the potential for growth and transformation. When we fall, we are given an opportunity to reflect and to learn. The fall can expose what went wrong, where we need to improve, or what must change in our approach. Rather than viewing falling as a final judgment on our worth or abilities, we can see it as feedback, a chance to recalibrate and to prepare for the next attempt. Each fall provides valuable insight and deepens our understanding, equipping us with the wisdom necessary to move forward more effectively. Moreover, falling humbles us. It reminds us that we are not infallible and that success is not guaranteed. This humility is essential because it opens us up to growth and change. It softens our pride and makes us more receptive to learning from others and from our own mistakes. It also strengthens our resilience, teaching us that setbacks are temporary and that we have the power to overcome them. The process of rising after a fall builds courage. It takes bravery to face the possibility of failing again, yet each time we rise, we grow bolder. The experience of falling and rising becomes a testimony of endurance and hope, demonstrating that failure is not the end but a necessary passage on the road to victory. Brokenness is not a sign of failure but a gateway to wholeness, a place where true healing and transformation begin. When we encounter failure, it often leaves us feeling shattered, vulnerable, and exposed. Yet, it is in this brokenness that we are given the opportunity to rebuild ourselves on a stronger, more authentic foundation. Just as a cracked vessel can be repaired and made even more valuable, our brokenness can lead to a deeper understanding of who we are and who we are meant to become. When we experience failure, it reveals the areas in our lives that need attention, whether it is our mindset, our habits, or the way we relate to others. This awareness, though painful, is necessary for growth. It strips away illusions of control and perfection, confronting us with reality and prompting us to confront what we may have ignored or denied. In this space of brokenness, we become more honest with ourselves and open to change. Brokenness also teaches us humility and dependence. It shows us that we cannot navigate life's challenges alone, and that asking for help is not weakness but strength. Through failure, we learn to rely on our inner resilience and the support of others, discovering that wholeness is not about being flawless, but about being connected and grounded. Furthermore, brokenness creates space for compassion, both for ourselves and for others. When we have experienced pain and failure, we develop empathy that allows us to reach out and encourage those who are struggling. This shared experience of brokenness can build community and deepen relationships, turning what seemed like an end into a new beginning. Ultimately, brokenness is the doorway through which healing flows. It invites us to let go of old patterns, to forgive ourselves, and to embrace the possibility of renewal. In this way, failure becomes not a mark of defeat, but a step toward a more complete and whole life. The night of failure is often the darkest moment we experience, filled with doubt, fear, and uncertainty. It is a time when our dreams seem distant, and the weight of setbacks threatens to overwhelm us. Yet, just as the night inevitably gives way to the dawn, failure, too, is followed by new beginnings and fresh opportunities. Understanding this natural rhythm can transform how we view our struggles and inspire us to hold on through the darkest hours. Nightfall is a time for rest and preparation, even when it feels like nothing is happening. In the same way, failure often brings a period of quiet reflection and inner work. During this time, the seeds of growth are planted, even if they are not immediately visible. The darkness allows us to slow down, to gather strength, and to renew our hope. It is a season where faith is tested, but also deepened, as we learn to trust the process even when the outcome is not clear. The dawn represents the promise of a new day, a chance to start over with greater wisdom and resilience. After failure, this new beginning can bring unexpected blessings and opportunities that would not have been possible without the experience of falling. The contrast between night and dawn reminds us that no situation, no matter how difficult, is permanent. Just as the sun rises without fail, so too can we rise after failure. This cycle teaches us patience and perseverance. It calls us to endure the darkness with the assurance that light is coming. Failure is not the end of the story, but a chapter that prepares us for the victories ahead. When we embrace the inevitability of night turning into dawn, we gain the courage to keep moving forward, even when the path seems uncertain and the future unclear. Refusing to be defined or limited by failure is a powerful act of reclaiming your identity and purpose. Too often, people allow their mistakes, setbacks, or disappointments to become the labels by which they judge themselves. They carry the weight of failure like a chain, believing it marks their worth or potential. But failure is not a permanent marker. It is a temporary experience, a moment in time that does not determine the fullness of who you are or what you can achieve. When we let failure define us, we trap ourselves in a cycle of doubt and fear. We begin to believe that our value is tied solely to success or the avoidance of mistakes. This mindset confines us to a narrow space where risk feels too dangerous and growth becomes impossible. However, when we refuse to accept failure as our identity, we open the door to freedom. We acknowledge that failure is simply part of the journey, not the final destination. To not be limited by failure means to see beyond the immediate setback and envision the greater story unfolding. It requires a shift in perspective, from focusing on what went wrong to recognizing the lessons learned and the strength gained. This mindset empowers us to take bold steps forward, knowing that failure does not define our future but enriches our path. This refusal also means rejecting the fear that often accompanies failure. Fear can paralyze us, convincing us to play it safe and avoid challenges altogether. But when we reject that fear, we embrace courage and resilience. We remind ourselves that every great achievement in history was preceded by moments of failure and doubt. By refusing to be limited by failure, we choose to keep moving, to keep growing, and to keep pursuing our purpose with hope and determination. Within every failure lies a hidden seed, a seed of future triumph waiting to be awakened by faith and perseverance. Failure is not simply an end point or a dead end. It is a doorway to new possibilities. When we encounter failure, it often feels like the curtain has fallen on our hopes, but in reality, it is part of a larger story unfolding. The lessons learned in failure, the insights gained through struggle, and the resilience developed through hardship are the fertile ground from which success grows. Failure exposes weaknesses and mistakes, but it also reveals areas of strength and untapped potential. It forces us to reevaluate our goals, adjust our strategies, and refine our vision. This process of reflection and correction is essential because it aligns us more closely with our true purpose and direction. Without failure, we might continue on a path that leads nowhere, unaware of the need for change or growth. Moreover, failure teaches persistence. It challenges us to keep trying when the easy way would be to give up. This persistence is the engine that drives breakthroughs and accomplishments. Those who have achieved great things often speak of failure as a necessary step, one that made their victory sweeter and more meaningful. The hardships endured sharpened the appreciation for success and deepened the commitment to maintain it. Failure also builds humility and empathy. When we fail, we recognize our humanity and our need for support, which connects us more deeply with others. This connection creates a foundation for collaboration and encouragement, essential components of sustained success. Recognizing the seed of triumph within failure changes how we approach challenges. It invites us to see setbacks not as dead ends but as beginnings, moments ripe with potential to grow, to learn, and ultimately to overcome. It is this perspective that transforms failure from a source of despair into a wellspring of hope and possibility. The only true failure in life is the decision to give up. Failure itself is not final. It is a temporary setback, a challenge to be faced and overcome. Many people fear failure because they associate it with defeat and loss. But the real defeat comes when we surrender to discouragement and refuse to continue the journey. Giving up is the moment when hope dies, and with it, the possibility of growth, change, and eventual success. Persistence is the key that unlocks the door beyond failure. History is filled with stories of individuals who faced repeated setbacks yet refused to quit. Their determination to keep going despite obstacles is what set them apart. The courage to rise each time we fall, to try again after disappointment, is what transforms failure from a stumbling block into a stepping stone. When we refuse to give up, we send a message to ourselves and the world that our dreams matter and that we are willing to fight for them. Giving up is often rooted in fear. Fear of pain, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. But fear loses its power when met with resolve. Every attempt, even those that result in failure, brings us closer to our goals by teaching us valuable lessons. The path to success is rarely straight or easy. It is marked by twists, turns, and moments that test our resolve. Those who endure these challenges develop resilience and strength that cannot be gained through comfort and ease. Choosing not to give up is an act of faith. Faith in our own potential in the process, and in a future beyond current difficulties. It is a declaration that failure will not have the final word, and that as long as we keep moving forward, success remains within reach. The refusal to quit turns every failure into a vital part of the journey, shaping us into the people capable of achieving our greatest dreams.